Welcome in everyone to another casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today, on the right side of the map, we're going to be seeing GIF Music play as the English, and on the left side of the map, we're going to be seeing Corvinus play as the Knights Templar. Now, Corvinus is a content creator. I highly recommend checking him out. I've been watching his streams and YouTube videos for a while. Very, very informative, and that is because he is one of the top players in the game, and so is GIF Music. These players are incredibly talented at this game and insanely highly rated on that ranked leaderboard, and I'm excited to see how both of them pilot these civilizations today. This video is happening because of our comment of the day, which comes from user Taha, who says an amazing gameplay. Upload more KT gameplays and gameplays that are 30 minutes plus, and absolutely I would love to. So I've been trying to take suggestions from the community because there's a website called AOE4replays.gg that lets you filter out the games without spoilers. So like I can search for a specific Civ matchup. I can put in Civ 1 and Civ 2 and search for a certain elo as well without spoiling the game for myself. So if you guys have any matchups that you want to see, please let me know down in the comments below and I'll try to get to them and cast those specific matchups. I think that would be a ton of fun, and I think it's a good way to engage with the community. Now let's take a look at these openings. On this side of the map, we're seeing a very, very standard opener, 7 on food, 2 on gold, and then moving everybody to the straggler trees. What I think this means is I think Corvinus is going the standard 2 TC opener, getting this wood early on to build that second TC. You need 400 wood for that, and over here on the English side, looks like they're just going for the age up at the moment. 7-4 split, 7 on food, 4 on gold. Nobody on wood at the moment. Now, the English is also a civ that usually plays 2 TC. I don't think they play it as much as a Knights Templar, but it does seem to be very, very common for the English civilization to go to TC, and then they use the White Tower to defend themselves with their 20% attack speed buff. And so that's normally what we see out of them. Now, villagers moving over to stone. I think this absolutely means that Corvinus is going for that second TC early on, moving all of these villagers over to stone to get that 300 stone required. We're seeing the 6-6 split, 6 on wood, 6 on stone. As the age up is queued, we are getting the Knights Hospitalier. This is going to boost villager movement speed by 10%, give them a little bit of extra health, unlock that unique Hospitalier Knight unit that does heal in the feudal age. And on the English side of the map, we are seeing that Abbey of Kings. So we're going to see the King unit go out on the map today. I do love the King unit. It's so fun to follow. It's also just incredible at early harassment. It's like a super juiced Royal Knight that does wonders at harassing in the early game and can always just come back to base and heal under the Abbey of Kings. So, the English player, surprisingly, not going for any wood at all at the moment. And then, literally, as soon as I say that, they put 1 villager on the straggler tree. Okay, so now we are going for wood at the moment. They might be going for a later second TC as well. So, they have not moved their villagers from gold over to stone. So, I think that means they're not going for a second TC today. Where is Corvinus going to place his second TC? Because he is very, very close to the required materials and right on top of the gold and the stone. That is a beautiful TC placement. Any villager working on the golden stone, if they're about to get harassed, they can just garrison in the second TC. Another place for it would be this deer in the back, but honestly, as we can see, they are walling off. So Corvinus is walling off, so this deer is going to be relatively safe. Of course, GIF Music can just burn down these walls to attack the deer pack, but ultimately I think it makes way more sense to put the second TC on the gold and stone. You're protecting 2 resources here that are going to be high value targets for GIF Music in this fight. A scout here for GIF Music moving in to spread out these deer and kill them to increase the movement time of the villagers gathering this deer from Corvinus. And over here on this side, no villagers on wood or stone at all. We're literally on 1 singular wood gathered, and it looks like GIF Music is going for a fast castle. An extremely fast castle. They are at 735 food and 400 gold. I think they're going to go for a fast castle. the villagers. Oh my god, did I forget to announce the map again? So, I forget to announce the map in every single video. The map today is Hidden Valley. Hidden Valley is super unique because in the center of the map here, we have a third sacred site that cannot be reached unless this entire wood line is cleared on either side. So neither player can get here without clearing this wood line first. And also what's unique about this wood line, it is the primary source of wood for both of these players. There are wood gatherings out here on the edge of the map, but of course moving your villagers out here is going to be extremely dangerous for their well-being. They're going to be way more likely to die out there on the edges of the map, and Corvinus is going over to that deer pack now to boost that food production. The king unit has arrived and has ran over here to harass this TC. I think the king unit will lose this fight. I think they need to pull back a little bit here. As we can see, Corvinus is putting up palisade walls to close off this little alleyway in between the stone and the TC. The knight unit might catch a villager out here. That villager is being pulled back now. I'm curious where that villager was going to go there. A new age begins. Oh my god, he did it. A 6.5 minute castle age. The King's Palace and not the White Tower. Interesting. Okay, so the King's Palace is going to work as a second TC. So right now we are actually in a 2 TC game with the English because this King Palace works as a second TC. So I guess they just went for Fast Castle to get that second TC instead of just outright building a second TC. And now they still are on a ton of food and gold production. They have 10 villagers on gold right now. I'm curious what they're going to go for. And, okay, they just moved a lot of villagers over to wood as well to, I assume, get some military production started. And I am very excited about a potential fight over this third sacred site. It will take them a while. I don't know if they're going to break through this tree line before the end of the game, but that would be absolutely hilarious if we saw a fight over this sacred site in the middle that is completely and totally protected by trees. The King's Palace. Normally, you see everybody just build a second TC with English and then protect it with the White Tower. As we can see, more palisade walls are going up to protect these villagers on gold as the King unit runs in to try to get harassment. What GIF Music is doing here is causing a lot of delayed time on these villagers. Every time they have to go back inside the second TC here, they are not producing gold. And this is going to be very, very annoying for Corvinus. They don't want to lose any villagers to this King unit, who does look like they have to retreat at the moment to go back and get some more health. But that was a lot of delayed time there for Corvinus. Good play by GIF Music at the moment. My cat is walking across my keyboard. And are we going to get some military production? We are seeing a stable go down for the English player. Are they going to go for mass knights? And now a ton of economic upgrades are coming in. Specialized pick, wheelbarrow, and double broadaxe are coming in for our English player to boost that economy. And we are getting the Age of Castile. I think this is the age up that I actually see the least, but what this is going to do is units near sacred sites gain 20% damage and regenerate health near sacred sites. So I assume Corvinus here is going to go for some sacred site play. That monastery coming down for the English player as quickly as possible. And there is also one relic trapped here in the middle of the map. And Corvinus moving a ton of villagers here to the center of the map to start working on this tree line and potentially break in to that third sacred site that is trapped in the middle. These other two sacred sites are on these cliffs on either side. Very interesting that they would put it like this. I'm surprised that these sacred sites aren't like farther out, like maybe over here. But who knows? They probably have a good reason to design that. And we are seeing a knight roll out here for the English player, as the King unit looks to burn down a palisade wall potentially to try and break in here and harass all these deer in the back. Have almost been vacuumed up completely. And this King is just going to try and burn down this wall over here with that scout. What is this knight doing? Knight is looking for a place to harass. Both of these players already have monasteries so quick. Both players did go for that fast castle age up. Beautiful play by both players. I guess the Knights Templar wasn't really a fast castle, but the English was really fast. 6.5 minutes. We're getting a ton of barracks down here. Archery range, 2 barracks and 2 archery ranges here for Corvinus as the Knights Templar, as this knight is again, causing a lot of idle time on that gold. Beautiful idle time here. I'm not sure what these villagers are doing. And I want to see a monk roll out for either player. Has anybody picked up a relic? Yes, our English player has picked up one relic somewhere. We can find it. There it is, right there. We have one relic in the hands of our English player right now. And it looks like this monk is also going to pick up that relic. GIF Music trying to lock down as many relics as possible, as quickly as possible, but we can see Corvinus has picked up one as well. And how many relics are on this map? So GIF Music looks like they've gone for the farther relics first, leaving this closer relic here, closer to their base for last. I think we might see GIF Music capturing 3 relics off rip, with Corvinus only getting 1 in this match. So a potential good gold advantage. Hardened Spearmen are rolling out here for GIF Music as the English, as this king. Oh my goodness. Has the king unit been trying to burn down this wall this whole time? And this villager is just repairing it? That is absolutely hilarious. Just harassment for the sake of harassment. I guess they are idling that one single villager and costing Corvinus a little bit of wood here to repair. The villager does go back to the food to start gathering some food there, as now we can see a good little party of crossbows and spears are going out here to defend. I thought they were going to go over here to that king unit, but they're actually going to this sacred site. As we can see, this knight is getting caught out for the English player. It does take down 1 crossbow, I think that was, but ultimately escapes, while GIF Music is capturing the first sacred site of the game and potentially the second sacred site of the game. GIF Music trying to get this early sacred site capture on the board as multiple knights run in to take out this small, very small party of units from Corvinus. The monk is trying to make their escape, but I think they are ultimately going to be caught by these knights. Unfortunate there for that monk who does fall. Another monk here for GIF Music is also going to fall, and oh my goodness, these players are fighting all over the map. They are everywhere at once. Beautiful gameplay from both of these players. Oh my goodness! Corvinus got the relic that was right next to GIF Music's base, but it looks like this monk might die. They are so close to death. Oh, and they fall. Unfortunate there for Corvinus, who just dropped that relic, but they have another monk right next to them who just picked it up, but isn't moving back from these spears just yet. I don't know if GIF Music has spotted this other monk. Maybe they haven't. It looks like they're looking for him just now. Oh no, this tree line was the hidden vision tree line. So they actually did not spot that monk in time. It looks like the knights are actually looking for that monk. No, they're going for the pilgrims. These spears do spot the monk, and the wall drops down, but I think this monk is just going to die. Unfortunate there for Corvinus, who loses their second relic of the game. But over here, the knights are trying to harass a little bit, but ultimately are being chased out by all of these units. Absolutely crazy game so far. These players are incredibly talented at this game. Oh my goodness. So they are expanding their farm production. These farms are, of course, half cost and boosted within the range of these mills. That unique English passive ability is so good for their farms. I keep going down here for the English player. And the English player was able to grab, GIF Music was able to grab this other relic that Corvinus almost sniped out from under them. There are at a total of 3 relics under their control. And that was a beautiful fight over that relic. Corvinus now walking down this other sacred site. This keep is placed, it looks like, to protect this stone and a tree line, or maybe this keep is being placed to deny the pilgrimage here, that extra gold. And so I think this fortress is going down to protect this sacred site so that those pilgrims for Corvinus can make their way there for that extra gold production. So the looks like this wall has been placed in case knights make it in through these walls, so that all of these villagers are safe on the wood line. I would assume that that is what that is for. And both players are building their military production into the valley. That's very, very funny. Now these units moving back away from a scout. I think those units could have killed that scout, honestly. Both militaries are moving back to their home bases. They are regathering their militaries back at the home base. So many villagers on stone over here for Corvinus. I assume they are looking to expand their fortress network as they do get more pilgrims for how many fortresses they have. A bunch of units over here getting caught by this keep, deciding to turn around. Not wanting to die under that keep. But the units over here for Corvinus might have spotted all of these villagers on stone. I am curious why these villagers are... I guess this is like the only stone on the map they can go to. Yeah, there's just no more stone back here. They got to move way farther out into the map. So Corvinus, I can see why they put their villagers over here. But why did Jiv Music move their villagers all the way out here? There's 2 stone outcroppings right here that are much closer. Like those villagers would be safer back here. Maybe it is because of the keep that is there that can hold 15 villagers. How many villagers are there? 18. Close enough. 4 villagers on stone over here for the English as they are looking to build a keep right next to the fortress by this sacred site. So they are going to fight over both of these sacred sites. The Jiv Music, as the English, is trying to deny this gold from pilgrims. I'm curious who's going to win in a fight of the keep versus the fortress. I know that units underneath the fortress do get buffed for KT, but they also get buffed for the English player. So whose buff is stronger? The military here for Corvinus is trying to come in and deny this keep placement, but it is already almost finished, and that keep does get completed, and so now these English units are going to have a 20% attack speed buff inside of this keep. As we can see immediately, a trebuchet is going down for Corvinus, who is going to try and take down this keep. Another game, is this 2 games in a row where we get a keep fight? This happened in the last video too, where 2 players placed 2 keeps right over a sacred site. This is absolutely hilarious. I love this. Let's go from this angle. Beautiful. I can't do the same thumbnail twice, can I? I can't do this again. This is literally exactly like the thumbnail in my last video. Who is going to win in the battle of the keeps? I think somebody needs a trebuchet here. Oh, there it is. The Corvinus does have a trebuchet. Immediately also building a palisade wall here to try and protect these units, buying them a little bit of time in case the English decides to attack. And look at these villagers. These villagers are going back here to snipe Corvinus's gold. So if these villagers vacuum up all of this gold, it'll be much harder for Corvinus to find gold on the map. Very, very good play here. A ram rolling out also for Jiv Music as the English moving in to try and attack this fortress that is covering this sacred site. And a second fortress going down as well. I do think that these units need to get over here. Maybe just some cavalry run in and kill this. I think this ram would actually be pretty easy to kill, and it is dealing a lot of damage to that fortress. Maybe these archers are now moving over there to attack this ram, or they're actually garrisoning to deal more damage. So that makes a lot of sense here. And these trebuchets are doing an insane amount of work. They have 3 trebuchets now that are protected by this wall and fortress that are just barreling down this keep over this sacred site. And I think ultimately Corvinus is going to come out on top. Another ram does join the fight here for the English player, trying to tear down this fortress. Ultimately not successful. The keep for the English player is just about to fall. And Corvinus is waiting until that keep does fall for the military to attack, so they do not have that 20% attack speed bonus on the English side. Keep ultimately dies for the English player, and this fortress is so close to death. I don't think it's being repaired. I don't see any villagers repairing it. The English military in full retreat right now as Corvinus pushes out to try and deny this outpost. They actually fall back. Corvinus does fall back and does not want to chase fully, as they do have control of this sacred site, which is all they need to make gold from their pilgrims. So this side, this keep is going to kill any pilgrims that pass by to get to this sacred site. And oh my goodness, we are so close to the center of the map. Now it looks like Corvinus is actually pushing with their military to go in and attack. We can see the men-at-arms in the front and the Genitors running in to fight the English player. The English horsemen running in to take on all of these men-at-arms. The men-at-arms are taking a ton of damage from these English crossbows though, and the Genitors seem like they're doing pretty good work from the back line, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for all of these crossbows and longbows from the English player. I'm not sure who's going to win this fight. The Springhold's trying to move in a little bit closer and get in some more damage, and it does seem like the English player is taking very heavy losses at this point. We do have a ton of crossbows over here for the Knights Templar side as well, and the Generators are going to do really, really well against those longbows. Ultimately, the English player is in full retreat at the moment. Maybe the thing that made the difference in that fight was those Springholds. As we can see up at the top, it does look like our Knights Templar player does have more military upgrades at the moment. And the English military now has to regroup outside the English base as Corvinus pushes in closer to that English base. We are getting so close to Corvinus breaking through this center wood line. Now, back here at base, the English player is going to have a 20% attack speed bonus. This might be a pretty rough fight for Corvinus here outside the English base, but we will have to see. These longbows and crossbows from the English player are doing a lot of damage. The Generators are doing pretty good against those longbows, though. And ultimately, it looks like this is a fight Corvinus is going to lose. They might want to pull their military out here, especially with reinforcements joining the party from the English player. The Trebuchet is coming in to try and get some damage on this palace. Oh my goodness, the Wineguard Palace has gone down. You can... oh my goodness, the English player is an Imperial now. I did miss that Imperial upgrade. You can recruit batches of reinforcements here at this palace now. And the English player has successfully chased Corvinus out of their base and is dealing a ton of damage to all of these siege units. These horsemen are just chewing up a ton of siege equipment from Corvinus. That is a lot of value lost here. Unfortunate for our Knights Templar player today. But at the top, we can see that Corvinus still is ahead militarily. But ultimately, our English player is ahead economically as they are expanding these farms. These farms do have the enclosure upgrade already. So now those farms are producing gold as well as food. And we are seeing keeps. Oh, there was a whole fight over this that I missed. There's a fortress that looked like it tried to go down but ultimately failed, as this keep is now there protecting that gold for the English player. These militaries moving into a fight again as several villagers back here who are in a ton of danger try to place a fortress. Jiff Music spots this and immediately moves their ranged units over here to kill these villagers, but this decision did ultimately lead to their front line completely and totally collapsing over here, and now these villagers are able to move back in to complete this fortress. A ton of horsemen reinforcements move in for the English player and are doing a ton of damage, but ultimately are going to fall to all those crossbows in the back. The Mangonels just absolutely decimating the English player. And I think Corvinus has done a really great job of reinforcing their infantry units with siege equipment here and just absolutely decimating that English army. Corvinus is ahead militarily, pretty strong here, and they have a very strong ball of crossbows at the moment. They are not in Imperial just yet, and so maybe Imperial upgrades are coming through over here. Yeah, we do have elite upgrades for horsemen rolling out at the moment, as a few horsemen are trying to roll. Where are these Mangonels going? These Mangonels are completely and totally unprotected, but I guess it doesn't matter. They are just getting kills on all of these longbows and fully pushing into the English base. And this is crazy that they're able to push into here when the English player has a 20% attack speed bonus. Villagers are now being forced to garrison to protect their lives as the palace falls. That Imperial Age landmark does fall for the English player, and Corvinus is just fortress pushing into the English player's base. Just absolutely dominating the front of Jiff Music's base. Unfortunate here for the English player, as the English player is doing their best to fight off all of these units, just non-stop fighting here. And I don't know how our English player is going to be able to recover from this. I guess they haven't lost very many villagers at all, actually. Corvinus has only gotten 7 villager kills, so the English economy is still online. So if they can get more military production buildings down and start outproducing our KT player here, they could come back from this. I actually don't think this is as devastating of an attack as I first thought, because all these villagers over here are completely and totally fine. This fortress is getting denied, it looks like. I don't think Corvinus is going to be able to finish this building at the moment. And as we can see at the top, both players have a lot of resources in their bank. And I'm curious what they're gonna do with all those resources. I'm assuming just amassing military production at this point, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more military upgrades to our armor for melee and melee damage over here for the English player. They don't have any melee armor or melee damage at all. That could be potentially really bad here for the English player. These trebuchets look like they're in a ton of danger, as the English player has been able to reinforce their army enough to actually push Corvinus out of their base completely. These siege units actually look like they were working on buildings back here, trying to take out that military production in the back, and now we have a cannon over here for the English player trying to work down this fortress. The English player has done a beautiful job of pushing Corvinus out of their base and pushing them back to this sacred site. Corvinus' military has been completely cleaned up, it looks like, and now this keep here is going to fall, this fortress. And it doesn't look like Corvinus was able to get too many villager kills here on the English player. And I'm surprised that Corvinus has not captured this sacred site with a monk yet, just for a little bit of extra gold there. The English military moving in to this sacred site. It looks like they are going to attack this sacred site now with these cannons and try and get this fortress off of here. If that does happen, I do think Corvinus could move their villagers, or not their villagers, their pilgrims down to this sacred site, just because the English player has not cut through this gold line yet, and Corvinus put a fortress on the opposite side of that wood line there. These cannons are completely and totally unprotected and are just gonna fall to all of these units, it looks like. Unfortunate placement on those cannons here for the English player, who lost them to that military from Corvinus. And GIF Music has actually gotten to the point where they are at twice the amount of military units than Corvinus. And this is gonna be a rough fight under this fortress for the English player. They have outnumbered Corvinus quite a bit, but these fortresses have been upgraded and they do boost the units in their aura. They do have that oil upgrade, and that is going to just do a ton of damage to these English units. And at the moment, there is no attack speed buff for the English player. The closest, oh, these actually do get a 20% attack speed buff now. Look at the range on that outpost. That is absurd. Ton of villagers here in the back, placing another fortress, trying to get it down before these crossbows can make their way in. If GIF Music had not lost those cannons at that moment and protected them, I think they would be able to get this fortress down. But because those cannons were lost, and now a bunch of Springolds are joining the party, they are taking some pretty heavy losses at the moment. If they were able to get this keep down, then they would deny the KT buff in the aura of this fortress, and also just not take damage from that boiling oil. The English military moving in to attack again, and I'm really surprised we haven't seen an Imperial Age from our KT player yet. These horsemen immediately running in to try and kill as many Springolds as possible. And the death ball of crossbows over here looks like it's dealing a lot of damage to those Knights Templar units. Of course, the Knights Templar crossbows are also up and very powerful. The boiling oil dropping down on these units. I'm surprised that the English player is just fighting under this fortress and not moving their units back a little bit. They are in the range of this outpost, so they are getting that 20% attack speed bonus, but underneath this fortress, they're just going to take heavy damage. And a lot of them just perish there at the moment. Unfortunate there for the English player. A couple spears moving in from the side to try and take out these cannons, but ultimately I do not think they're going to be successful. Are we going to get an Imperial Age up here from Corvinus? I guess they're just mass producing units at the moment. They are in Castle Age up, and it looks like a lot of elite upgrades have rolled out here for the English player. I think Corvinus needs to get some elite upgrades here to compete at the moment. This is just regular crossbowmen and veterans. Now these cannons are placed in a spot where the military is here to protect them, and I think once this fortress falls, it's going to be a completely and totally different fight. I think this is going to be a rough fight after this fortress does fall. The English military moving in to attack the KT player. And now that the fortress is down, these units are no longer getting an armor buff. And I think that we might see the English player just kind of steamroll here without that fortress in the background. But we will have to see a ton of English men-at-arms are just absolutely wrecking that group of crossbows, while also the elite crossbows over here for the English player have been upgraded with incendiary ammo. And Corvinus is just running villagers in to attack the siege equipment. Oh my goodness, that's just so many villager losses there for Corvinus. That was unfortunate. Corvinus has gotten to a point where they have reinforced their army a ton. It does look like so many reinforcements are rolling out here for Corvinus that they were able to win that little skirmish there at the moment. But at what cost? At what cost? I'm surprised those elite units there did not do more work for the English player, honestly. These cannons now are in a lot of dangers. They do have to fall back at the moment. But the English player is also reinforcing their army and just trying to push Corvinus back even farther as more military production is dropping over here for the Knights Templar player. This fight is just raging on forever. The trebuchets are trying to damage as many units as possible. And now these cannons are working on this fortress over here as well. This is going to be a massive problem for Corvinus, but he spots this immediately and is moving spears over here to try and work them down as well. They are going to get chewed up by all of these military units for the English player. And now the English player is just decimating this defensive lineup here for the Knights Templar player and running so many men-at-arms in to attack this military for the Knights Templar player. And I don't know if Corvinus is going to be able to beat these elite units. It looks like we're getting to the point where Corvinus might be getting overran at the moment. And Corvinus calls it with the GG. GIF Music won this one as the English. Thank you all so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you do, please consider leaving a like or even subscribing, and I hope to see each and every one of you in the next video. Bye.